Blood. That's what Marcus Webb would taste in 30 seconds. Not from violence, from pure, crushing humiliation broadcast to 500,000 strangers. Get back to the kitchen where you belong. His words cut through Sterling's steakhouse as he towered over the black woman at table 12. Designer suit, platinum watch, the confidence of old money. Brett Collins blocked her exit. We've been waiting forever for our check. David Chen aimed his phone at her face. Smile for my followers, sweetheart. The woman's hands rested motionless on white linen. No trembling, no tears. Just stillness that made experienced waiters pause mid-step. Her phone buzzed. Secretary of the Navy. She declined the call. These touching stories happen daily. Real-life stories where assumptions shatter lives. But some black stories end differently than bullies expect. Have you ever watched three powerful men discover they've just declared war on the wrong person? 8:15 p.m. 39 minutes until her flight to Washington. Maybe she's special needs, Brett Collins whispered loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. That would explain the confusion. Sarah Mitchell's jaw tightened imperceptibly. She'd survived Taliban ambushes in Afghanistan. She could survive 3 drunk Wall Street predators. Marcus Webb grabbed her wrist. Hey, I'm talking to you. The contact was electric. Sarah's muscle memory screamed, neutralize threat. A swift strike to the radial nerve would drop him instantly. Instead, she looked down at his manicured fingers gripping her dark skin. Remove your hand. Each word fell like a stone into still water. Webb tightened his grip. Or what? David Chen's phone captured everything. His live stream had exploded to 12,000 viewers in 4 minutes. Comments poured in like digital venom. Put her in her place. Welfare princess acting fancy. Someone's getting uppity. The restaurant had transformed into a coliseum. Diners abandoned their meals to watch. Servers clustered by the kitchen, whispering. A young woman at table 6 held up her phone. Instagram story already recording. Sarah's boarding pass lay exposed now, first class, visible in bold letters. Her phone screen showed missed calls, SECDEF, JOINTCHIEFS, POTUSSCHEDULER. Webb noticed neither. Tunnel vision, she realized. Classic predator behavior. Look around, he hissed. See all these people watching? They know you don't belong here. Collins stepped closer, emboldened. My law firm represents half the restaurants in this district. One call, and you'll never eat anywhere decent again. Empty threat. But the crowd didn't know that. Chen pivoted his camera. Guys, we're witnessing a masterclass in dealing with entitled behavior. This woman thinks she can just disrupt our dinner, Webb finished, ruin our evening with her attitude. Sarah's phone buzzed. Text from Admiral Rodriguez. Sarah, Chinese sub-movements accelerated. Need your intel ASAP. Are you wheels up? She typed back. Slight delay. Wheels up 9 o'clock sharp. The Admiral's response was instant. What kind of delay? Sarah looked up at Webb, Collins, and Chen, at the growing crowd, at the phones recording their humiliation of her. She typed, domestic terrorism. 8:18 p.m. 36 minutes. Manager Thompson finally approached, but his trajectory told the story. He'd made his choice before opening his mouth. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to settle your bill and leave. You're disrupting other guests. The words hit like a physical blow. Sarah had faced down pirates in the Horn of Africa, but civilian discrimination still stung. The assumption that she was the problem. always the problem. She hasn't even ordered yet, called Maria, the actual server for Section 12. I've been trying to take her order for 10 minutes, but these gentlemen are valued customers. Thompson cut her off. Ma'am, please don't make this difficult. Chen's viewer count hit 15,000. The hashtag entitled dinner was starting to trend locally. Webb released Sarah's wrist, but stepped closer. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and cloying. Close enough that his implicit threat was clear. Here's what's going to happen, he said, voice low but audible to Chen's microphone. You're going to apologize to my friends and me. Then you're going to leave. Quietly. Collins nodded. And if you're smart, you'll find employment more suitable to your background. The words were carefully chosen, legally defensible, plausibly deniable. But their meaning was crystal clear to everyone watching. Sarah's training kicked in again. Assess, calculate, execute. Assessment. 3 targets, multiple witnesses, social media documentation, ideal scenario for maximum impact. Calculation. 34 minutes to boarding. Enough time. Execution. Let them hang themselves with their own rope. Gentlemen, she said, standing slowly. The movement was fluid, controlled. Every eye in the restaurant tracked her. She was shorter than expected, maybe 5 feet 6 inches, but something about her posture commanded space. Military bearing, though the 3 men were too drunk and too arrogant to recognize it. You have 30 seconds to step away from this table. The precision of it was unnerving. Not, please leave me alone or I'll call security. 30 seconds. As if she were counting down to something specific. Webb laughed, but it sounded forced. Or what? You'll get your manager to come talk to us? 25 seconds. Collins pulled out his phone. I'm calling security. Real security. Chen kept filming, his viewer count climbing toward 20,000. This was content gold. His follower count was probably doubling in real time. 20 seconds. Sarah's phone rang. The caller ID that flashed across her screen for just an instant made the nearby businessman at table 14 choke on his wine. Secretary of the Navy. She declined the call. 15 seconds. The countdown was working. The crowd pressed closer. Even Thompson was filming now on his personal phone. This would be restaurant industry gossip for months. 10 seconds. Webb's confidence flickered. There was something wrong with this picture, something he couldn't identify. The woman was too calm, too precise, too prepared. 5 seconds. Sarah reached into her purse, a simple black leather bag that had somehow survived 3 deployments. Her fingers found what she was looking for. Time's up. She pulled out her phone and speed-dialed a number saved as Emergency Protocol. 2 rings, then, Shore Patrol Commander. How can we assist? Sarah's voice cut through the restaurant's stunned silence. Alpha 7 Niner. Immediate response required. Sterling's Steakhouse, 42nd, and Lex. Threat to naval personnel. The line went quiet. Then, ETA 3 minutes, Commander. She hung up and looked at Webb, Collins, and Chen. Their faces had gone white. Gentlemen, you now have exactly 3 minutes to reconsider your position. 8:22 p.m. 32 minutes until Flight 447 departed. Shore Patrol? Webb laughed, but sweat beaded his forehead. What is this? Some Navy SEAL fantasy? Chen's live stream erupted with mockery. Stolen valor alert! Call the real cops on this fake. Military wannabe getting exposed. The viewer count hit 28,000 and climbing. Sterling's drama was trending across 3 states. Sarah remained motionless at her table, hands folded. 3 minutes, gentlemen. Enough. Collins slammed his palm on her table. Thompson, call NYPD. Real police. This woman is clearly having some kind of breakdown. The manager nodded eagerly, already dialing. This was his outlet, the cops sort out the crazy woman claiming to be military. But Sarah's phone rang before Thompson could connect. The caller ID flashed across her screen for everyone to see. Pentagon, secure line. She answered on speaker. Commander Mitchell. The voice was crisp, authoritative, unmistakably official. Admiral Rodriguez, sir. I may be delayed for tonight's briefing. Delayed? Sarah, we have Chinese submarine movements in the Taiwan Strait. Your intelligence is critical for tomorrow's response planning. Webb's hedge fund brain was starting to process. Pentagon, Admiral, Taiwan Strait. These weren't words thrown around casually. Sir, I'm dealing with a situation that requires immediate shore patrol intervention. Shore patrol, are you under threat? Yes, sir. 3 civilians have physically assaulted me and are preventing my departure. The line went silent. Then, location, Sterling's Steakhouse, 42nd, and Lex. I'm dispatching immediate response. ETA? Sarah checked her watch. 2 minutes, sir. Sarah! The Admiral's voice carried decades of command authority. Handle this by the book. We can't afford international incidents over domestic stupidity. Understood, sir. She hung up. The restaurant had gone dead silent. Chen's live stream chat was exploding. Holy shit, that sounded real. Pentagon number confirmed. Check the caller ID. These guys are about to be so fucked. Webb tried to salvage control. Anyone can fake a caller ID. This is 3 black SUVs with government plates screeched to a halt outside. Collins pressed his face to the window. Those are actually government vehicles. 6 men in Navy dress uniforms stepped out, moving with military precision. Shore patrol badges gleamed on their chests. Chen's phone was shaking. His viewer count had exploded past 45,000. Guys, I think this might be real. 8:25 p.m. Time's up. The front door burst open. 6 shore patrol officers swept into Sterling's like a tactical team. The lead officer, Lieutenant Commander Torres, scanned the restaurant with predator eyes. Commander Mitchell? Sarah stood slowly. Present. Torres snapped a salute that could crack bones. Ma'am, we received your emergency beacon. What's your status? The words hit like hammer blows. Emergency beacon. Not a phone call. Not a request. A beacon. Webb's face went white. Beacon? What kind of beacon? Sarah reached into her purse and pulled out what looked like a simple black key fob. She pressed it once. A red light blinked. Standard issue for personnel with TS/SCI clearance operating in civilian environments. TS/SCI. Top secret/sensitive compartmented information. The highest level of security clearance in the U.S. government. Collins was frantically Googling on his phone. His face went ashen. TS/SCI clearance. Jesus Christ, that's CIA level, Pentagon level. Chen's live stream had hit 60,000 viewers. News outlets were starting to pick up the feed. This was becoming a national story in real time. Torres addressed the 3 men with military authority. Gentlemen, I need to see identification. Now. You can't just... Webb started. Sir, you are suspected of assaulting a naval officer with top-secret clearance. That falls under federal jurisdiction. Identification. Now. The Shore Patrol officers spread out, surrounding the three men. Professional, intimidating, absolutely real. Webb pulled out his wallet with shaking hands. Collins and Chen followed suit. Torres examined their IDs with military efficiency. Marcus Webb, Senior Vice President, Blackstone Securities. Brett Collins, Associate Partner, Dewey, Cheatham and Howe. David Chen, Director of Development, TechFlow Solutions. He looked up sharply. Mr. Chen, your company holds DoD contracts worth approximately $890 million. Is that correct? Chen's voice came out as a squeak. Yes, sir. Mr. Collins, your law firm represents defense contractors including Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. Yes, sir. Mr. Webb, your fund manages portfolios that include $2.3 billion in defense-related investments. Webb could barely nod. Torres turned to Sarah. Commander, these three individuals all hold positions that require them to understand the gravity of threatening military personnel. Do you wish to press federal charges? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. Sarah checked her watch. 8:28 p.m. 27 minutes until boarding. Lieutenant Commander Torres, I need to catch a flight to Washington. I have a briefing tomorrow morning that affects national security. Understood, ma'am. We can resolve this quickly if these gentlemen cooperate. Webb finally found his voice. Cooperate how? Torres pulled out a tablet. Federal Law 18 U.S.C. Section 245 makes it a crime to threaten military personnel based on their race or perceived social status. We have video evidence of physical contact without consent. We have 60,000 witnesses via live stream. He showed them the tablet screen Chen's own feed, showing Webb grabbing Sarah's wrist. Additionally, threatening the security clearance or employment of military personnel falls under Section 372 of Title 18 of the United States Code, Conspiracy Against the United States. Collins was speed-dialing his senior partner. I need you to look up federal sentencing guidelines for 18 U.S.C. 245 and 372. Now. Chen had stopped live streaming. His corporate lawyer was already calling. Webb was calculating rapidly. Federal charges meant FBI investigation. FBI investigation meant his clearance review. No clearance meant no defense contracts. No defense contracts meant career over. What would cooperation look like? Sarah checked her phone. Text from Admiral Rodriguez. Chinese sub count now at 7. Whatever you're dealing with, wrap it up. Joint Chiefs meeting moved to 0600. She looked up at the three men who had tried to humiliate her. Gentlemen, you have exactly 25 minutes to convince me not to destroy your careers. Torres added quietly, and the clock is ticking. The restaurant was dead silent except for Chen's phone, still buzzing with notifications from his 70,000 viewers who had just watched three powerful men realize they'd picked a fight with the wrong person. Sarah sat back down at her table. I believe you are going to bring me a menu. 8:29 p.m. 26 minutes until wheels up. Sarah's phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Commander, this is Captain Williams, ONI. We're monitoring the live stream. Chinese intelligence may be watching. Recommend immediate extraction. Office of Naval Intelligence was tracking a restaurant incident. Webb's hedge fund brain finally started connecting dots he didn't want to see. Torres received a call on his secure radio. Shore Patrol Actual, this is Pentagon. We have confirmed Chinese cyber activity targeting the live stream. Commander Mitchell may be compromised. The words fell like bombs. Chinese intelligence. Targeting Sarah through Chen's live stream. Chen's face went white. Chinese? What did you mean, Chinese? Torres studied his tablet grimly. Mr. Chen, your live stream app, what servers does it run on? I don't know. TikTok's servers, I think. TikTok's servers are owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company. The implications hit everyone simultaneously. Chen had been broadcasting a classified naval intelligence officer's location to Chinese servers for the past hour. Sarah stood slowly. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of national security. Mr. Chen, you just broadcast the face, location, and partial identity of a covert naval intelligence operative to hostile foreign servers. Chen's livestream, still running, had 120,000 viewers. And now, they knew some of those viewers might not be American. Torres was already on his radio. Pentagon, recommend immediate OPSEC protocol. Commander Mitchell's cover may be blown. Webb's phone rang. His managing director's voice was panicked. Marcus, we just got a call from the FBI. They want to know why you assaulted someone who apparently tracks Chinese financial warfare. Chinese financial warfare? Sarah pulled out her real military ID, not the basic card she'd shown before, but something with more seals, more authority, more implications. Gentlemen, my official title is Commander Sarah Mitchell, Naval Intelligence, Chief of Pacific Financial Crimes Task Force. The words reordered reality. She wasn't just investigating Webb's fund, she was leading the entire Pacific operation against Chinese economic espionage. Collins was speed-dialing his senior partner. Sir, we have a problem. A big problem. The woman we encountered, she's apparently the Navy's lead investigator for Chinese financial crimes. Chinese financial crimes? Brett, our firm represents half the defense contractors in the Pacific Theater. Torres received another radio call. This one made him curse under his breath. Commander, Pentagon reports your cover identity has been fully compromised. Chinese intelligence services now have facial recognition, voice patterns, and location data. Sarah checked her watch. 8:32 p.m. 23 minutes. Lieutenant Commander, what's the extraction protocol? Immediate relocation to secure facility. Your flight to Washington is scrubbed. The words hit like a physical blow. The Chinese submarine briefing. The Joint Chiefs meeting. National security decisions that depended on her intelligence analysis. Negative. I have critical briefing materials that can't be delayed. Torres looked torn between orders and reality. Ma'am, with respect, your safety. My safety is irrelevant compared to 7 Chinese submarines in the Taiwan Strait. 7 submarines. The number slipped out, and Webb's financial brain immediately started calculating what that meant for defense stocks, shipping lanes, global markets. Chen was frantically trying to end his live stream, but his phone had frozen. 125,000 viewers and climbing, watching a real-time national security incident unfold. Collins pulled out his phone. I'm calling the FBI. This is beyond... Mr. Collins, Sarah's voice cut like steel. You will not call anyone. You've already compromised enough. Torres stepped forward. Sir, you're a civilian who has witnessed classified information. That puts you under federal jurisdiction. Webb was calculating desperately. Classified information? What classified information? Chinese submarine counts, Mr. Webb. Specific intelligence that affects $2.3 billion in your defense portfolios. The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Webb had insider information about Chinese military movements that could affect his trades. Sarah's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID, and her expression darkened. Admiral Rodriguez, sir, we have a problem. Sarah, I know. NSA reports your identity was broadcast to Chinese servers. We're initiating Broken Arrow Protocol. Broken Arrow. Nuclear-level security breach. Sir, I need to make that briefing. Negative. You're compromised. We're sending a full extraction team. Sarah looked around the restaurant. 50 civilian witnesses, video evidence on Chinese servers, her cover blown internationally. Sir, request permission to handle this locally before extraction. You have 5 minutes, Commander. Then you're coming in. She hung up and faced the 3 men who had just accidentally triggered a national security crisis. 8:35 p.m. 5 minutes to resolve everything. Gentlemen, congratulations. You've just created an international incident. Torres was coordinating with multiple agencies on his radio. FBI en route, NSA cyber team dispatched, ONI preparing extraction. Webb's phone buzzed with an urgent email from Blackstone's compliance department. Urgent. Federal agencies inquiring about your knowledge of Pacific defense movements. Report to legal immediately. Collins received a similar message from his law firm. Brett, the Pentagon, FBI, and NSA have all contacted our managing partner in the last 10 minutes. What did you do? Chen's TikTok account was being terminated in real time, but it was too late. The video had been downloaded, shared, and was spreading across Chinese social media platforms. Sarah pulled out a device that looked like a smartphone, but clearly wasn't. She pressed several buttons in sequence. OPSEC Protocol 7 activated. All electronic devices in this vicinity are now under federal surveillance. Every phone in the restaurant suddenly displayed the same message. Device secured by U.S. Naval Intelligence. Do not attempt to transmit. The technology was terrifying. Civilian electronics taken over by military systems in real time. Torres addressed the restaurant crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed a federal security incident. You will be interviewed by federal agents. No one leaves until cleared. The restaurant had become a crime scene. 50 people who came for dinner were now witnesses to an intelligence breach. Webb was hyperventilating. This can't be happening. This can't be real. Mr. Webb, your fund's trading patterns suggest you've been receiving advance intelligence about Pacific military movements. That's treason. Treason? I never... Your short positions on shipping companies exactly 6 hours before Navy announced submarine exercises. Your puts on semiconductor companies 12 hours before classified cyber attacks. Your calls on defense contractors precisely 1 day before classified weapons announcements. Each accusation was a nail in his coffin. Webb realized he'd been under investigation for months, possibly years. Collins was crying. I have children. I have a mortgage. This will destroy everything. Mr. Collins, your law firm has been overbilling classified defense projects while potentially sharing information with firms that represent Chinese interests. We don't represent Chinese interests. Your firm's parent company received $50 million in investments from companies linked to Chinese intelligence services. Chen was in full panic. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know the servers were Chinese. Mr. Chen, your company's software has been allowing Chinese backdoor access to naval communication systems for 8 months. That's impossible. Your security patches contained code that created hidden access points. Every update made our systems more vulnerable. 8:38 p.m. 2 minutes until extraction. Sarah stood and straightened her dress. Despite everything, she looked perfectly composed. Gentlemen, you have 2 choices. Cooperate fully with federal investigation, plead guilty to lesser charges, and spend the next 20 years in federal prison. Or resist, Face treason charges and spend the rest of your lives in maximum security. Torres checked his watch. Commander, extraction team ETA 1 minute. Sarah looked at the 3 men who had started this evening as predators and were ending it as prey. Your choice, gentlemen, but choose quickly. Webb broke first. I'll cooperate. I'll tell you everything. Collins nodded frantically. Yes, complete cooperation. Chen was sobbing. Please, I have kids. I'll do anything. Sarah headed for the door as black SUVs surrounded the restaurant. Lieutenant Commander Torres, take their statements. I have a briefing to catch. Ma'am, your orders were extraction. My orders were to protect national security. Mission accomplished. She walked outside into a scene from a spy movie. Federal agents, military vehicles, and enough firepower to level a city block. The Admiral was waiting by the lead SUV. Sarah, you were supposed to avoid international incidents. Sir, sometimes incidents find you. She got into the vehicle as the Admiral shook his head. Next time, just order takeout. 8:40 p.m., 20 minutes late, but the real mission was just beginning. Behind them, 3 powerful men learned that some battles you lose the moment you start them. 10:45 p.m. Pentagon Situation Room. Commander Sarah Mitchell sat at the head of a polished table surrounded by America's most powerful military leaders. Her evening dress had been replaced by navy dress blues, her quiet demeanor transformed into command presence. Gentlemen, she began, displaying satellite imagery on wall screens, tonight's incident has accelerated our timeline significantly. The images showed 7 Chinese submarines in attack formation, 40 miles from Guam. Admiral Rodriguez leaned forward. Sarah, walk us through the connections. Sir, Webb's trading algorithm wasn't just predicting announcements, it was triggering Chinese submarine movements. Every time Blackstone took short positions on shipping companies, Chinese subs moved to intercept those exact shipping lanes. The revelation was staggering. Wall Street trades were directing enemy naval operations. Secretary of Defense Austin's secure phone rang. Mr. Secretary, this is Director of National Intelligence Williams. We've intercepted Chinese communications. They're calling tonight Operation Golden Phoenix, the exposure of their entire American financial network. Sarah stood and activated a secure video link. 3 screens flickered to life, showing Webb, Collins, and Chen in separate interrogation rooms. Gentlemen, she addressed them directly, you're about to learn the cost of underestimating the wrong person. Interrogation room L. Webb. Webb looked up at the screen, seeing Sarah in full military dress for the first time. The transformation was shocking, from dinner victim to Pentagon commander in 2 hours. Marcus, Sarah's voice filled the room through military-grade speakers, your fund's trading patterns match Chinese submarine deployments with 96% correlation. Webb's lawyer whispered urgently, but Webb could only stare. The woman he'd grabbed and humiliated was running the briefing that would determine his fate. Every short position you took on Pacific shipping companies preceded Chinese submarine interdictions by exactly 72 hours. FBI agent Martinez spread out maritime charts. Red dots showed Webb's trades. Blue dots showed submarine intercepts. The patterns were identical. Marcus, you weren't just committing securities fraud. You were enabling acts of war. Webb's voice cracked. I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't ask. Willful ignorance isn't a defense in treason cases. Sarah's image dominated the screen, her authority absolute and terrifying. Your hedge fund earned $847 million, while Chinese forces positioned themselves to attack American merchant vessels. How does that feel, Marcus? Interrogation Room B. Collins. Collins faced the same wall screen, the same commanding presence, the same crushing realization. Brett, your law firm's overbilling wasn't random. You inflated costs on exactly the contracts that contained Chinese submarine patrol schedules. DoD, Inspector General Davis pulled out billing records. Every document your firm overcharged for contained classified naval movements in the South China Sea. Collins was sweating through his $1,000 suit. Commander, I swear we didn't know what was in those documents. Didn't know or didn't care? Your firm billed 400 hours to review documents that were already digitized and searchable. Sarah leaned forward on screen, her presence filling the room. Brett, those delays you created, the extra weeks you billed for careful review, delayed critical submarine deployments. American sailors are in danger tonight because you padded your billable hours. Collins's senior partner had joined by video conference. His face was gray. Brett, how many contracts are we talking about? 23 over 2 years, sir. Jesus Christ. 23 contracts with submarine schedules. We handed Chinese intelligence a roadmap to the Pacific Fleet. Interrogation Room C. Chen's interrogation was the most devastating. NSA Director Kim had connected his company's software to real-time Chinese military operations. David, the backdoors in your code weren't just spying, they were actively disrupting our communications during Chinese submarine approaches. The technical evidence was overwhelming. TechFlow's updates had degraded naval communications by 34% over 8 months, perfectly timed to Chinese submarine movements. Your software didn't just let them listen, David. It made sure we couldn't coordinate responses. Sarah's voice carried the weight of 40,000 sailors under her protection. David, 3 days ago, the USS Charleston lost communications for 17 minutes while Chinese submarines surrounded her. 17 minutes of total blackout because of vulnerabilities your company created. Chen was crying. I didn't know. Dr. Liu handled all security updates. Dr. Liu, who you hired despite NSA warnings about his background. Dr. Liu, who you promoted to security chief despite having no American references. NSA Director Kim pulled out personnel files. David, we sent your company 14 security warnings about Dr. Liu over 2 years. You ignored everyone. Chen's world was collapsing in real time. We needed skilled developers. The visa program isn't an excuse for compromising national security. Pentagon Situation Room. The ultimatum. Sarah addressed all 3 screens simultaneously, her command presence overwhelming their collective resistance. Gentlemen, here's your situation. In 12 hours, the President will address the nation about Chinese infiltration of American financial systems. Your names will be mentioned as either cooperating witnesses or enemy collaborators. The choice was stark and immediate. Webb, you will provide complete trading algorithms, communication records, and client lists. Your cooperation will reduce your sentence from life to 20 years. Webb nodded frantically. Yes, complete cooperation. Collins, your firm will disgorge all profits from the affected contracts. $12.7 million, and provide detailed billing records for the past 5 years. Your cooperation reduces conspiracy charges to fraud. Collins looked at his senior partner, who nodded grimly. We'll cooperate fully. Chen, TechFlow will immediately transfer all naval software to government control and provide complete access to Dr. Liu's activities. Your cooperation prevents espionage charges from becoming treason." Chen was sobbing. "Yes, anything you need." Sarah stood in the Pentagon briefing room, surrounded by America's military leadership. "Admiral Rodriguez, initiate Crimson Tide protocols. All Pacific Fleet communications will be rerouted through secure channels within 6 hours." "Understood, Commander." She turned to Secretary Austin. "Sir, recommend immediate implementation of the Financial Warfare Prevention Act. Tonight proved our vulnerability to economic espionage." "Agreed. I'll brief the President at 0600. The personal reckoning. Sarah activated a private channel to the 3 interrogation rooms. "Gentlemen, I want you to understand something personal." Her voice carried quiet fury, controlled but devastating. "I have dedicated my life to protecting this country. I have risked my life in war zones, sacrificed relationships, and missed family events to defend American interests." The 3 men stared at screens showing a woman they had tried to humiliate. "Tonight, you tried to put me in my place because of my race and gender. You assumed I was powerless." Webb, Collins, and Chen sat in stunned silence. "Your assumption wasn't just wrong, it was catastrophically stupid. You attacked the one person capable of exposing everything you built on stolen foundations." Sarah's smile was ice-cold satisfaction. "Your careers are over. Your companies are finished. Your families will carry the shame of your choices for generations." She paused, letting the words sink in. "But here's the beautiful irony. Your racist assumptions led you to attack the person who could have simply ignored your crimes and let you continue stealing from America." The truth was devastating. If they had simply let her eat dinner in peace, their crimes might never have been discovered. Instead, you chose to humiliate a black woman in a restaurant. And that choice just saved American lives by exposing Chinese infiltration. Sarah looked directly into the cameras. "Gentlemen, thank you for being exactly as stupid as I needed you to be." She terminated the connection. In 3 separate rooms, 3 powerful men realized they had destroyed themselves through the very prejudices they thought made them superior. The showdown was over. Sarah had won everything. 3 months later, Sarah Mitchell stood in the same Sterling's Steakhouse, but everything had changed. The bronze plaque by the door read, "In honor of those who stand up when others sit down." Maria approached with a genuine smile. "Commander, your usual table." Table 12 had been renamed the Dignity Table. A small bronze marker explained its significance. Here, assumptions met reality. May we all choose wisdom over prejudice. Sarah sat in the same chair where 3 men had tried to humiliate her. Now, young professionals stopped by her table regularly, asking for autographs and sharing their own stories of overcoming discrimination. "Commander," a young black woman in a business suit approached nervously, "I'm Lieutenant Johnson, Navy JAG. I just wanted to say, thank you. Your story gave me courage to report discrimination in my unit." These moments happened weekly now. Sarah's story had become a beacon for others facing prejudice in corporate America, the military, and beyond. The transformation. Sterling's Steakhouse had become an unlikely pilgrimage site. The Sterling Protocol was now taught in business schools as the gold standard for inclusion policies. Revenue had increased 340% as customers chose to support businesses that stood for dignity. Manager Thompson's replacement, Angela Rodriguez, had implemented revolutionary changes. Every employee underwent monthly bias training. Security cameras with audio recording protected both staff and customers. A dignity response team was available 24/7 for discrimination incidents. "We don't just serve food," Angela explained to visiting journalists. "We serve respect." The restaurant industry had noticed. 1,247 establishments nationwide had adopted Sterling's model voluntarily. The Sterling Standard certification became a mark of distinction that customers actively sought. Personal victories. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from Admiral Rodriguez. "Sarah, Chinese submarine activity in Pacific down 78% since Golden Phoenix arrests. Your work saved lives." The intelligence was classified, but the results were visible to those who knew where to look. Shipping lanes that had been dangerous for American vessels were now secure. Maritime insurance rates had dropped significantly. Global commerce flowed more freely because 3 racist men had been stupid enough to attack the wrong woman. Her promotion to captain had come with a new assignment: Director of Financial Warfare Prevention. Her office overlooked the Pentagon, but her real power was in the networks she'd built. Every week, she received calls from military personnel facing civilian discrimination. Her response team could mobilize within hours, turning isolated incidents into teachable moments for entire communities. The ripple effects. Webb's former colleagues at Blackstone had scattered across Wall Street, carrying hard-learned lessons about the cost of assumptions. Trading floors that once operated on stereotype and privilege now hired diverse analysts specifically because different perspectives caught threats that homogeneous teams missed. "We learned that bias isn't just morally wrong," explained Blackstone's former managing director at a congressional hearing. "It's financially catastrophic." Diverse viewpoints aren't political correctness. They're risk management. Collins's law firm had reinvented itself as a model for ethical practices. The new partnership structure included mandatory pro bono work for military families and veterans. Their motto: "Justice sees no color, hears no prejudice." Chen's story became a cautionary tale in Silicon Valley. Tech companies with defense contracts now employed Sarah Mitchell protocols, mandatory diversity on security teams, enhanced background checks for all personnel, and regular reviews by independent security experts. Intellectual triumph. The most satisfying victory wasn't in court. It was intellectual. Sarah had used knowledge, preparation, and system-level thinking to defeat opponents who relied on money and status. No violence, or no dramatic confrontation, just facts, law, and the devastating power of being underestimated by the right people at the right time. "The best revenge," Sarah told audiences at her speaking engagements, "is competence so thorough that your opponents defeat themselves." Her Harvard Business School case study was titled "The Sterling Paradigm: How Unconscious Bias Creates Strategic Vulnerabilities." Students learned that assumptions about people were intelligence failures with measurable costs. Lasting change. The Department of Defense had created the Mitchell Doctrine. Military personnel facing civilian discrimination could trigger immediate federal response. The policy had been activated 47 times in 3 months, each incident becoming a teachable moment for entire communities. Corporate America had responded with unprecedented inclusion initiatives. The Webb warning system monitored trading patterns for bias-based decision-making. Companies that failed inclusion audits lost federal contracts worth billions. Legal reforms were equally dramatic. The Collins Standard required law firms with federal contracts to undergo quarterly audits with criminal penalties for discriminatory billing practices. The Memorial. Sarah stood and walked to Table 12's bronze marker. Engraved beneath the dedication were simple words: "Strength lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." She thought about Webb, Collins, and Chen, still serving federal sentences. Their punishment wasn't just prison, it was knowing they had destroyed themselves through the very prejudices they thought made them superior. Their racism had blinded them to competence, their privilege had made them careless, and their arrogance had led them to attack someone who could expose everything they'd built on stolen foundations. Sarah smiled and headed for the door. Tomorrow brought new challenges, new battles against those who confused prejudice with power. But tonight, she had dinner at the table, where three powerful men learned that respect isn't given. It's earned, one choice at a time. 2 years later, the young woman sitting across from Captain Sarah Mitchell in her Pentagon office trembled as she spoke. "Ma'am, they said I didn't look like officer material, that maybe I should consider other career paths." Sarah recognized the pain in Lieutenant Maria Santos's eyes. The same humiliation she'd felt at Sterling's steakhouse now echoed in countless stories reaching her office daily. "Maria, show me their faces when you pin on captain's bars. That's the only response that matters." 6 months later, Lieutenant Santos earned the Navy Achievement Medal for exposing procurement fraud worth $30 million. Her commanding officers, the same ones who questioned her officer material, presented the award with newfound respect. These transformations happened weekly now. Sarah's story had become a blueprint: turn prejudice into power, convert assumptions into advantages, transform humiliation into systemic change. The continuing impact. Sterling's Steakhouse now hosted monthly Dignity Dinners gatherings where people shared stories of overcoming discrimination. The waiting list stretched 6 months. Table 12 had become a symbol of quiet revolution. The restaurant's revenue had increased 420% since implementing the Sterling Protocol. But more importantly, discrimination complaints across the entire chain had dropped to zero. Real change created real results. Corporate America had learned expensive lessons. The Webb-Collins-Chen principle was now taught in MBA programs. Unconscious bias creates measurable business vulnerabilities that competitors can exploit. Financial markets operated under Mitchell protocols, enhanced surveillance systems that had prevented 47 additional espionage attempts. Chinese financial warfare against American markets had effectively ended. The ripple continues. Sarah's phone buzzed with daily updates. Another military officer promoted after facing discrimination. Another company implementing bias prevention protocols. Another community choosing dignity over prejudice. The touching stories multiplied across America. Real-life stories of people who found courage in her example, who chose intelligence over anger when facing injustice. These Black stories, and stories from every community, proved that strength often hides behind assumptions, that competence frequently wears unexpected faces, that wisdom appears where bias expects weakness. The most dangerous person in any room, Sarah told audiences nationwide, is the one everyone underestimates. Your moment of power. Every day, you witness moments like Sarah's. Assumptions made, prejudice revealed, competence underestimated. Your response matters. Share your experiences in the comments. When have you seen bias create blind spots? When has someone's assumption about you become their disadvantage? Your story could inspire someone facing discrimination right now. Spread this message by sharing this video. Tag someone who needs to hear that their worth isn't determined by others' assumptions. Every share reaches a person who might be sitting at their own table 12, wondering if they belong. Subscribe for more life stories that prove quiet competence defeats loud prejudice. These real-life stories demonstrate that intelligence and preparation triumph over bias and privilege every time. Take action when you witness discrimination. Don't be a silent bystander. Your voice could prevent someone's humiliation or expose dangerous assumptions that compromise security, business, or justice. The three men who attacked Sarah thought they had power. They learned the difference between privilege and strength, between position and competence, between assumptions and reality. Every person you meet today carries invisible capabilities. Choose respect. Choose curiosity. Choose to see strength where others see weakness. Because the person you underestimate might just be the person who changes everything. What assumptions have you overcome? Share your story below. The world is ready to listen.